Thank you very much for that lovely induction. It is quite awkward hearing your bio come up. Thank you for the intro. I don't think we need to go over that in more detail. Just obviously importantly, that's my dog Cara and my cat Mila. Cara is blind and deaf. Mila is partially paralysed, so clearly I have quite special needs kids.
Oh, my cats are just gorgeous. That's all I'm going to say. They're the best cats you're ever going to see.
So we're obviously here to talk a bit about omnichannel and our experience and the journey that we've been on. And when we started it, we really kind of went, well, what is omnichannel and how are we going to build this experience without us chasing our tails? Pet pun number one. So it's a word, omnichannel, that's used so often, always in different ways. What does it really mean? So for us, it's about building an experience with people at the heart. It's about making sure that people are at the heart of a data and technology supported journey. No part of the journey for us is more important than the other as long as it is connected. So that's how it shows up for us. And what we mean around, regardless of whether it's transactional, is recognising that each interaction with Animates is an opportunity to build a connection. We're building long-term relationships here with people, so every little touch point and moment counts. So to really understand why that's so important, you kind of need to understand who our customers are. And it was great hearing some of the statistics from Gemma, because it really kind of connects to what we're also seeing. We've seen a really change in the relationship people have with their pets, driven in part from COVID, changing consumer priorities and lifestyles, and that's really redefined it. So here are some of the kind of stats we're seeing and that we have that show what pet parent is to us. So to start with, we're actually got the highest rate, one of the highest rates, or the second highest rate of pet ownership in the world. We actually suspect that next year we will have the number one rate of pet ownership in the world. It was really interesting just reflecting back on what you said, Gemma, around the younger, generation choosing, reconsidering the having a family and the cost in that place. And what we're seeing is actually in their recent research that around 20% of that generation are actually choosing pets over children, in part because of the costs, as well as a kind of change in how they want to spend their life and their life values. Almost 60% of pet parents, it's their fur baby. They will use that kind of language, they will have that emotional connection, and therefore when they're engaging with our team in store or online and live chat, they expect the same level of respect. And this one, and Bex and I were talking just before, and we actually decided that, while that statement is actually quite true, but what was quite important is actually right now both of us would rather be cuddling our pet than talking to you, very talented people.
And that's not being mean, it's just the nerves.
It's the nerves. So
we were going to bring a animal along with us, like a support animal, but
would have been good. Thought maybe we could release some kittens around here, and the pressure would be off us a bit. So bear with us as we talk. And the last one, 42% of pet parents buy a pet as a Christmas present. Buy their pet a Christmas present. So what this has all resulted in is a huge growth in the competition in the pet market. Every man and his dog, pun intended, is providing pet solutions, whether that's from your boutique retailer, pure pay online, the growing range in supermarkets. Competition is growing and across all different areas. The great thing, consumers now have more choice, but this means more pressure to understand what are they doing, what is right, what they're doing, and also that kind of increasing focus on them, what's the right decision in terms of doing what's best for their wallet. We believe, anyone that's chosen to go to Animates has chosen to do what's best for their pet. Therefore it's really important that whatever we do continues to reiterate and validate that decision that they've made, while we continue kind of to help give their best advice, and as pet needs change, that we stay with them and help advise them on those needs. And that, of course, is going to build a bigger connected experience with them, grow our share of wallet, and create a bit of that stickiness. But customers that choose to go to the supermarket, they also still love their pet. They love their pet incredibly. They might not realise that they're not necessarily doing what's best for their pet from a nutrition point of view. So that's an area we need to focus on, but we're fighting against that ingrained habit and supermarket convenience. And of course, especially in this market, it'd be really easy to do the price fight and beat them on price or meet them on price. What that would mean is we're actually not giving them the why for the change, and so then we're always only going to win at that moment of price. That's the only time we'll have a connection with them, and it's only going to last while that price is on sale or while that product's on sale. So, how do we break or utilise omnichannel connections to break through to that sleep shopper? You know, that's the person that's on automatic pilot, doing what they've always done, because actually that's the least amount of friction to them. How does our marketing strategy and omnichannel approach kind of help us break through to them to do what's best for their pet? And this is the journey that we've started and we've been on for a little while. So we approach this through, I guess, the lens of 3 channels or 3 challenges that has kind of built our marketing strategy. And the first is a challenge of the heart. So this comes from our heart positioning. And it really is connected to us, and you see what's going on in the world, and you think of the fact that when your pet greets you at the door and that happiness, and they don't have racism, they don't have greed, they love you unconditionally, there's no judgment. If you have a bad day at work, you can come home, have a whole conversation with them, and you'll always be right. They love us, they want us to be happy, and we want them to be happy. And they're our number one customer. But with that comes an interesting little challenge for them and for their pet parent. Our pet parents, they're challenged, you know, they can't tell us what they're feeling, what's going on. They can't tell you what they need. And one of our number one customer problems, you know, we all know we need to start with the customer problem, not a business problem, is the pet will die before the owner really wants them to. And that is just such a heartbreaking connection, but such an opportunity to connect really strong and emotionally with our customer. So our opportunity in this heart strategy element is to bond with our customer through that shared joy and passionate obsession we have for pets, and provide that comfort that we can help. Now, this is really easy to do in a face-to-face environment like the store, but if we're talking omni-channel and part of that is a digital channel, it's a lot harder to do online, even with live chat. So that's one of our challenges. Second one is a challenge of the mind. Now, when there's so much choice with no official guideline on what makes good pet food, or what's the right flea treatment, or even what dental treats will help a bunny rabbit, our role is to become a trusted advisor. And this is also a great opportunity to interrupt that sleep shopper with educational snippets that can make them pause, reconsider, and hopefully start engaging in a quality conversation or a quality learning and education. This is where we see our opportunity to really provide that differentiation through trusted human advice and that human touch. But content and content marketing has been talked about for years, and we're all active in it in different levels. And so for a customer, navigating all that information and the need for that information in a world full of content is really challenging, and it's really important for us to kind of how we build that connected experience. So we need to find ways that we're doing it incredibly personalised, incredibly relevant, and at a time when the customer needs it in a channel that they need it. And the last one is the challenge of the wallet, certainly something that we've had a good start in the morning on. And we've got 2 interesting challenges outside the just general price sensitivity. And that's around, the first one's around cost per feed versus cost per bag. At Animates, we stock specialty nutrition. That is a decision that we've made that's aligned with our values. We know we could provide really low price points by bringing in some of the supermarket food, but that is food we don't believe aligns with our value on doing what's best for a pet. So what that means is when we only have specialty or superior range nutrition, as we can be perceived as expensive, because of course the bag and the food item is more expensive than what you'd get at the supermarket. But that's what a customer sees, is what the bag food costs, not necessarily how long it will last, not necessarily the nutritional benefits. And then when you factor in that superior or specialty nutrition requires less food to be fed than a normal bag, they're not actually also understanding and seeing that value. So our challenge is we have a superior bag of food for, let's say, $80, and that might last for 3 months. But the customer is seeing then at the supermarket a $30 bag of food, but that might only last for 1 month. But especially now in the current pressures, and I love what you were saying around, the cost focus of what cost me today as opposed to in the future, they're seeing $80 versus $30. So that's a challenge for us. Then we have the Animates basket versus a good old supermarket basket. So if you go to Animates to purchase your bag of food, chances are the majority of your basket is going to be that food item. So you know then how much that bag of food costs. But if you go to the supermarket and you walk out with $350 worth of groceries in your basket, and there happens to be a pet food item in there, how much did that bag of food cost? And generally, people can't tell you, because it's made up of this entire $350 bag of grocery or baskets of groceries. So that's also a challenge for us, is how, another way on how do we have that price perception and create positive price perception of value when we're kind of competing without the apples for apples. And then in a market like we're in at the moment, when price comparison can be really the core of a decision, and that's so much in a digital environment, very easy to compare things to Google Shopping and other website connections. How do we then intercept and connect and provide the customer with the right advice so that they can make a value decision and the right decision for them and their pet that allows for price and education and quality? And that's why a connected and personalised experience is so critically important for us, even if it doesn't result in a transaction. And that's why we talk about our omnichannel experience strategy being, it's regardless of if a transaction is made. We are quite happy, in fact we thrive on it, if customers come into our store or go through our live chat, have a quality conversation, they want to know about what's important for their pet, spend an hour doing it and then walk out the store without having bought anything, because we've made a quality connection that should lead to a long-term customer. And that, if we do everything well, like we said we would before, that'll help us achieve our purpose of making our world a happier place through the love of pets. And this is where we also started when it came to, well, if we're on this omnichannel customer experience journey, what exactly does that mean and what does that mean for us? So from this purpose, we created our customer experience goals. So we have 9 customer experience principles that we believe will connect customers to our brand and to our relationship with them. And our approach is belief that really these customer principles, they're based on customer-centric needs and wants. That comes first. Then we go, well, okay, how do we apply these principles to the different channels that these customers might connect into? So for example, number 3, make it an enjoyable environment. Making an enjoyable environment for us is about making it welcoming, making it easy to navigate, making it really easy to find what you want. And that experience and a link to that principle, that can be applied to our store channel, it can be applied to our e-commerce channel, it can be applied to our social channel. It then just flexes in different ways on how that shows up, but the customer need and the principle starts first. And all those principles then can flex, and in some areas they're more important or more relevant in a physical environment, in some areas they're more important or more relevant in a digital environment, but fundamentally the customer need is where it's all started in terms of them being able to do what's best for themselves and their pet. So, everyone's talking about e-commerce, digital channels, those kind of elements, and yet we're still talking about store and bricks and mortar. And there's a reason why we keep that bricks and mortar piece really important to us, and why we've started with the customer experience and not started with a channel experience. And for us, that is because we've seen that if we're not delivering the retail experience, then our data and our technology aren't going to be delivering for us in any other channel. We know we'll never achieve online growth if we're not nailing it in the store environment. We've actually seen that. We know that our highest NPS comes from customers who've started their journey with us in store, even if they've then continued that entire journey online. And we know that customers who do both, who are that omni-channel customer, have a high NPS and greater annual sales in each channel compared to a non-omni-channel customer. And I'm sure some of those stats have been spoken about before, but it's always really great when you can hear those stats and then you go back to your own business and go, oh, that works for us as well. So that is why our store is really important, even though we're in a world where there's so much focus on digital and technology and data and tech. So, after quite a bit of discovery in this space and the journey that we've been on, it coincided with our time of partnering with Hearts and Science, the amazing Hearts and Science team, and we went with them and go, how do we build this omni-channel experience utilising these principles? How do we make sure we do this while respecting the need of pet owners and ensuring that the journey that we're building is connecting to those hearts, minds and wallets?
I really wish my cat was here now. Thanks, Nat. That was great. So yeah, as Nat said, we've got a really, I'd just like to say first, we spend a lot of time talking about pets and a lot of time looking at pictures like that, which is a real privilege because in the dark times that we are going through, it is really lovely to be able to spend time thinking about ways we can make people happier. So often we get tasked rightly with driving down cost per sales, maximising to a transaction value, looking at how we're acquiring people. And it's really refreshing to start talking about how we can build customer experiences through omni-channel strategies that allow us to deliver store experiences. And those 9 experience principles are a great example of that. How do we make a store experience that's so important feel connected online, feel connected in our search copy, feel connected in our display and in our wider digital ecosystem? So working together, we're in the process, and it absolutely is the start of that process, just to be clear, in driving momentum into our omni-channel journey, but fundamentally knowing the benefits and value and the market advantage that a connected experience strategy can bring. We want to make sure that we are moving at a speed that propels us in front of that market, but also that allows us to do it authentically and effectively with people who are super passionate about their worlds and their pets. And I just have to say, I am a supermarket shopper buyer and I do love my pet. Well, I will get to Animates because I need to start that journey. But what's awesome about this journey with Animates is that we are on it early, and we know that this is very much the beginning. And what our fantastic friends at McKinsey so helpfully illustrate is that this really is a crawl, walk, run process. It has to be customer need-led. Our customers are not necessarily right now sitting there wanting an AI experience and looking for, ChatGPT to sell them their next bag of food and tell them how to live their lives in that way, but they are ready to feel like when they're in an Animates store and when they're on Animates online, it's connected. So we need to make sure that we are building our omni-channel customer-led and that the business benefit comes from that and not just designing for this ideal sort of ecosystem that might not be attainable right now. But what's great is that even in the crawl stage of a basic omni-channel approach, you get fantastic benefits. We see expanded reach, we see increased customer connection, and via a data-led view of our customers, a much more manageable way to talk to them consistently. So the building blocks for us at the moment, and they won't be new to anyone in this room, but helping us to aim for adaptability and future readiness, is looking at the ways that we are collecting our data, looking at the tech platforms that we use to do that and serve these messages out, but really, centre around 4 core principles. Everything that an omni-channel strategy can offer you can only come from knowing your customers. Now, there's all these privacy laws and we make sure that we are in line with those, but that can be going in store, talking to people. It's about understanding the passion points, making sure that we know their journey, not just their journey to us, but their journey to other people, their journey in life at that time. The market conditions play a big factor on what people are prepared to spend. Although really interestingly, we've got a survey that shows people will prioritise pet spend in some cases over their own food, which is kind of scary, but also awesome. But then making sure we take that data and we have that tech solution to design the experience That's the fun part, like that cat painting. Took me about an hour, but it was a good time finding that painting. And optimizing for connection, underpinned by data-driven insights and measuring what matters. So knowing, as I said, is the absolute basic of an omnichannel strategy. All strategies should be driven by knowing your customers to the nth degree. Easy to say, but hard to do. But when you exist in not only such a highly competitive, but an emotional category, it will only bring you benefits if you can demonstrate it well. If you serve a cat message to a dog owner, it doesn't end well. It just shows, not only does it show that you don't know them, but it just disconnects that experience straight away. If they walked in store, that person would know that they were a dog owner because we've got that data there. And they probably go there a couple of times a month. We can't have that drop when we move into the online world. For Animates, we're heading in the direction of an addressable segmentation goal that will ultimately get us to a level of personalisation, ideally when we can be pet first versus people first. You know, in an ideal world, we will connect with you via your pet. You walk into store and we like, hey, Hoover. I'm saying Hoover because that's a guy who works with his dog, but hey Hoover, good to see you, here's your food. Mike, nice to see you as well. But that's our kind of goal online, and that would be amazing. But right now, what we've got and what we're building for is just knowing our new customers versus our existing customers, where our customers are on their pet life journey. There's a really big growth area in engaging people before they buy a pet, because funnily enough, that's when you're most engaged. You're looking at that's the time when you're prepared to spend the most time and effort connecting with brands that will help you bring your fur baby into the world happily and grow them well. But also understanding the existing and the established pet parents and what we can bring them beyond transactional information to help support their journey. So it's always about advice and care as much as it is about transaction. And that is a really interesting challenge to build for in an omnichannel and digital environment. How do we bring content in and out? How do we connect them to experts? We even want to know your pet's birthday. We want to be able to send you a card. So those are the things that will make a difference. It's also about making sure that we understand the motivations and barriers that stop them, the friction and the pain points, and making sure that we are leveraging our ability to get towards that personalisation point so that we can drive loyalty, because fundamentally, once you lock them in, that's the best way it can be. Everybody does journey mapping. We should all be doing journey mapping. It's fantastic. And with Animates, we've totally recognised that we can't do everything right now. But for us, journey mapping is about identifying our key moments of connection with the highest potential, and that's super important. People only have so much time to spend, and they only have so much money to spend. We want to make sure that we are intercepting and improving the experience to drive value for the business and for our customer across the board. So we do this by not only considering our direct path to purchase journeys, but also those that involve our competitors. Super important transactionally, but also understanding when we bring care into the mix. And care is really important because not only do we want to identify the next best conversion, but we also want to make sure we can build for the next best conversation. And design is the fun part, and all my notes are falling over. But very much where our 9 experience principles come into play, because this is where we have to live to the vision and we have to live to the principles that the brand has so authentically worked to deliver. So obviously the goal here at a base level is to make sure everything looks consistent and seamless. You want consistent brand messaging, you want a whole bunch of yellow, you want black dogs dancing everywhere. It's about making sure that by default, when I connect with an Animates brand anywhere in the world, I know that that yellow and that black gives me reassurance and comfort, that my experience is going to be a good one. But ultimately as well, we want to make sure that we are flexing those experience principles that Nat talked about into the channel in a way that works. So for example, if we're about making it enjoyable, there's some really simple ways and easy to deliver ways we can do that in store. How do we make a website enjoyable? What are we going to bring to the table in search content? So how are we making all of those points enjoyable? And that's something that we are continuously working through at the moment. And design and journey mapping should be a continuous iteration, but making sure that we are cementing and reaffirming our relationships at every touch point. And then finally, we should always optimize. I wouldn't be a good media person if I didn't tell you to optimize. So making sure, though, that what we're identifying and optimizing for is consistent to our vision and is consistent to our values. So again, it's super exciting to be talking about a multi-dimensional feedback loop. So what goes beyond what people are just buying, but what they're saying and what they're feeling and how they're demonstrating that. And we're building that, absolutely, because it's much harder to measure, as you would expect, but not ignoring the transitional actions, but adding to them. So customer satisfaction, engagement, and experience alongside the sale. And making sure that we obviously test and optimize throughout is absolutely fundamental. But I feel like I've made this joke a lot of times, so if you've heard it, I'm sorry. But I always think measurement is such a conversation sometimes that's had at an end of a brief or a piece of work, and it really needs to happen at the start. And for a strong omni-channel strategy, you've got to know how you're going to measure it first, because otherwise there's not a lot of point. I always say it's like that joke that if a tree falls in a wood and no one's there to hear it, did it even happen? It's a little bit like measurement. If you can't prove it, did it happen? And it probably did, but you might as well take credit for it. So Nat's going to talk a little bit now on the ways in which we're trying to push our measurement frameworks to make sure that we're also building the hard alongside the soft in these connections that matter. Experience, planning.
When it comes to our measurement framework, we bring it back down to the hearts, minds and wallets, and within those experience frameworks and those experience principles. I can quite easily rattle off a list of measurements that you guys will nod and go, yes, we do that, yes, we do that. Average sale, conversion, those kind of elements. But what's really important is we found a couple of measurement points that relate directly to our purpose, that help us understand that not only are we achieving the results we need, but taking it to that next step that's around our customer experience and delivering on that purpose. So for example, when it comes to wallet, it isn't just important that the customer has chosen to shop with us and they've chosen that decision through their purchase behaviour, but actually that we are able to provide them with what we call top-to-tail care. And there's 5, elements within top-to-tail care. There's nutrition care, health care, training care, play care, and comfort care. And so what we have as part of our our wallet layer is a perfect pet parent score. And if you think perfect is spelt P-U-R-R-F-E-C-T, you'd be dead right. What this means is that we can see that over a set period that a customer has purchased or transacted in each one of those categories, because then we can believe that they are doing what's best to their pet through their entire pet's needs, and that kind of reflects our share of wallet. So then we have the mind. This is very much, as you'd see, their engagement in content. Are we giving them advice? And so those are the kind of metrics we've added in as it relates to our customer principles. How many of our customers have interacted with our content? And if they happen to go in store, how many of those customers got some advice? That is really critical for us. Even if they're in for what's a replenishment journey, they're in, I'm getting my bag of food that I get every month and walk out, did they get some advice along the way? And then the last one is hearts. And for us, this really has that strong connection to values. And so you'd see we have, of course, our brand attributes, our brand awareness, those kind of usual trackers. But the one we have that really links back to the principles such as make it an enjoyable environment is we make sure every customer, our goal is to make sure every customer that walks in the door, that their pet that they bring with them in this situation, so any dog that walks into our store is given a treat. So that is one of our key measurement attributes. That's a real challenge one on how do you then bring that measurement and how do you do the equivalent of that online. So those are the kind of things we're looking at, is what are those principles and then how do we measure that online. We also have an interesting challenge at the moment where we seem to be getting more than just dogs. We've had goats, I kid you not, goats, parrots, sheep. The amount of goats and sheep that are in our DIY dog wash makes me think we need to rename our DIY dog wash. But it's the same kind of thing then. How many of them get treats and how many of them get given a bit of the Animates love? So, in summary, we're not leaders in omnichannel. It's an absolute privilege to be here to speak and certainly share our journey, as I know we're definitely not the leaders in the space, but we're really passionate about it. We've started a journey, and I'm really proud of the fact that we've started a journey that starts with our purpose and our customer experience principles, as opposed to potentially some of the bottom line focuses. I really hope everyone's gained something from this journey, and if nothing, at least you got to see some really cute pictures of pets on the screen for a few minutes. So I guess fundamentally we have our people and pets at the heart of what we do, and we believe that this, with the 4 building blocks and our customer experience principles, will lead us to helping make our world a happier place through the love of pets. And at the end of the day, if the only thing we achieve is having our pets and our customers happy, that results in these kind of moments happening, I've had a good day.
Somebody actually sent this in.
Yeah.
Their dog watching our ad. Thank you.
Thank you.